Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn Lake and I'm a graduate student at Morningside College receiving my master's in special education. My research study is called The Effect of Large Group Social Skills Instruction on Problem Behavior in Upper Elementary Students. So there are many students with challenging behaviors in the classroom, and Beam and Muller surveyed a bunch of teachers, and 83% of special ed teachers and 70% of gen ed teachers said that they work directly with students with problem behaviors in their classrooms. Of those same teachers surveyed, 84% of special education teachers felt adequately prepared to work with these students, whereas only 39% of gen ed teachers felt the same way. And these statistics show a lack of preparation, training, and comfort level for gen ed teachers who are working with students with challenging behaviors in their classrooms. In 2015 to 2016 school year, 42.8% of U.S. teachers stated that student misbehavior had interfered with their teaching. These problem behaviors are inhibiting learning and academic growth in students, and it's causing relationships with peers and adults. In addition, it's causing a lot of stress for teachers, and 40 to 50% of beginning educators leave the profession in their first 5 years of teaching. According to the National Institute for Mental Health, 1 in 5 students will have a mental health diagnosis by adolescence. 50% of all lifetime cases of mental illness begin by age 14, and behavior disorders are included in this, and that could definitely contribute to the increase in these problem behaviors. In addition, there's been increased communication through technology for everyone, and even including students as young as 10 who have their own cell phones. This communication through technology is inhibiting the development of interpersonal skills, it's reducing the ability to read facial gestures, and it's increasing the chance that students will respond inappropriately to miscommunication. So for my why, I chose behavior and social skills for my research project because I have seen the direct impact that problem behavior and a lack of social skills has on students from kindergarten through 6th grade. Problem behaviors are negatively impacting students, their peers, teachers, and administration. So I was interested in how universal social skills instruction would impact 4th grade students' behaviors. So a variety of past interventions have been tried, including reactive strategies, proactive strategies, and direct social skills instruction. Some reactive strategies that have been tried in the past include seclusion and restraint, which those two strategies still remain very controversial topics for managing behavioral crises and should only be used when there's no other option. Other strategies such as office referrals, suspension, expulsion, and detention might work temporarily, but they're exclusionary punishment. There's no direct teaching of how to change the behavior. And for some students, these might even be considered a reward. So the gap here with the reactive strategies is that there's no teaching of social skills. Some proactive strategies might include check-in, check-out, where students have a daily progress report and they receive immediate feedback on what they did well and what they need to work on. And that can help to reduce some problem behaviors. Breaks are better takes the check-in, check-out form, and students are also allowed to ask for a break. So Boyd and Anderson found that breaks are better reduces problem behavior by 84%, 39%, and 71%. So all students in their study saw a reduce in problem behavior. And while these support behavior expectations, these strategies don't have any direct social skills instruction. Some direct social skills instruction that's taken place was Luzinski and Hanley did a study on 12 preschool students, and 5 out of the 6 students in the test group, after using the preschool life skills program, were able to perform the desired skills with an average of 80% or higher, whereas their peers who were in the control group actually saw an increase in problem behavior. Ross and Sabay took the check-in, check-out form and then taught social skills to those students. So all 5 students that were in this study saw an average increase of 31.8% of positive social engagement and a decrease of 14.1% in negative social engagement. So here we're starting to get on the right track, but these studies were done with lower elementary students. They were done in small groups and they only lasted for a short time, so they weren't reaching a broad range of students. The purpose of my quantitative study was to determine the impact of large group social skills instruction on problem behavior in fourth grade students. I hypothesized that fourth grade students who received direct social skills instruction would exhibit fewer problem behaviors than fourth grade students who did not receive social skills instruction. The possible impact of my study is I hope that these results can be used to help school districts make instructional decisions about social emotional skills and how those will be taught in their school. So for my study, I had 35 fourth grade students in the study. They were 18 female and 17 male. 37% of the students were Caucasian, where 3% were African American, and 38% of students in this district are from a low socioeconomic status and receive free and reduced lunch. My instructional materials, I use 101 Ways to Teach Social Skills, a ready-to-use reproducible activity book by Lawrence E. Shapiro. For my assessments or my measures, I used SABRS, which is a standardized universal screener. It's on the FastBridge website, and it helps educators identify students with social, academic, and emotional behavioral concerns. My SABRS is just the student version of that, so students were able to assess their own social skills. And I also gathered observational frequency data on problem behavior. I looked at noncompliance, disruptiveness, and disrespectfulness for 15 minutes in several different sessions. So for my study, first I gathered my pretest data, then I did the intervention. My intervention lasted for 10 weeks. It was 3 days a week for 15 to 20 minutes a session. And the lessons from the 101 social skills, I began each lesson with an objective, so the students knew what they were learning that day. We activated prior knowledge through a group discussion. Then I directly taught the skill. Following that, students had an opportunity to practice the skill, either using another maybe small group or a large group discussion, a worksheet, or a partner activity. And then I summarized the lesson for the day. And after all that, the 10 weeks were over, then I gathered my post-test data. I analyzed 4 independent samples t-tests for SABRS and MySABRS, and I also looked at the mean and standard deviation of the observational data for each group. So looking at the t-test data, what was interesting is that the only significant one that was considered statistically significant was this SABRS pretest. However, you can see here the SABRS pretest, we have a negative score here and then a positive. The control group scored lower on the SABRS in their pretest, whereas in the post-test, the experimental group actually scored lower, so those scores reversed. Teachers did not see a positive impact of this study on students' social and emotional skills. Whereas for the pretest scores, the average score, the mean score, for the control group was higher on the pretest, but then they actually dropped on the post-test. So the experimental group, their average scores grew 3.8 points. So student perception of their social skills did increase as a result of this study. Looking at the observational data, this data partially confirmed the hypothesis that problem behaviors would reduce. There was an overall reduction in both groups of problem behavior, but the experimental group, their problem behavior dropped 16.8 instances in 15 minutes, whereas the control group only dropped 10.8. This study connected to past research because Durlach et al. Found that the most effective social skills lessons follow a consistent sequence, they're focused, and they utilize explicit instruction, which I work to include in my study. In my results, the results of the study also did show a decrease in problem behavior, as was found in the Lisinski and Hanley study. This study was based on Piaget's theory of cognitive constructivism. Each lesson included explicit instruction on connecting new social skills knowledge to the students' prior knowledge. So they were working on assimilating and accommodating. Students had the opportunity to use their prior knowledge or schema as a basis for assimilating and accommodating their skills. And we did use a lot of higher level thinking, which students entering the formal operational stage, these students were all really close to that age, are able to do. So I tried to pull in those components. However, there were not any opportunities for the students to directly practice these skills in new settings. so that assimilation and accommodating to different scenarios wasn't as present as had hoped in the initial writing of the study. So there's a couple of implications of this study for teachers and students and parents. The first is that I found it's necessary to teach social emotional skills to all students, preschool through 12th grade. It's going to help support student growth. Social emotional skills are the foundation for how people interact with others. A lot of preschool and kindergarten curriculums understand the importance of this, so they're embedded into that, but as students age out of that early elementary, social skills kind of start to disappear, the direct instruction of it. So increased social skills instruction will help prepare students to navigate the world when they go through school or when they graduate. More social skills means fewer problem behaviors and increased academics. Social skills should be universal. They should be taught a minimum of 10 minutes a day, at least 3 days a week, and taught throughout the entire school year. Another implication is that an effective social emotional curriculum should be chosen by the district to support the specific needs of their students. The 101 social skills, not effective for my group of students. The lessons need to be more explicit. They need to be more active. They need to be more engaging. They need to allow opportunities for students to practice in a variety of different settings, not just their gen ed classroom. And so administration and teachers and parents should work together to find a curriculum that spans kindergarten through 12th grade. And finding a curriculum with a school to home connection would be so wonderful, because then those skills could really be transferred to a lot of different settings. A few limitations in my study. I only had 35 students to work with at a small rural school in Iowa, so there wasn't a lot of diversity. A larger sample size with more diversity would definitely help to show if this 101 social skills curriculum is beneficial or not. And the duration, the study only lasted for 10 weeks, and I instructed 3 times a week. However, some days I was pulled out for other behavioral concerns, so I had to miss the instruction. A longer intervention phase with the classroom teacher delivering the instruction may have proven better results. Also, that 101 Ways to Teach Social Skills by Shapiro was not effective for teaching social skills to a large group of 4th grade students. The students were often bored, they were off task, they'd been taught a lot of the lessons previously in guidance by the school counselor, so they weren't really engaged. I didn't see a lot of positive effect during the teaching of the lessons on their behavior. In addition, the SABRS assessments that I used, while they're great assessments, they didn't really fit the research question of, will this reduce problem behaviors? It looked at their social, emotional, and academic skills, but not specifically behavior. So a measure that accurately tracks problem behaviors would be beneficial if this study were to be repeated. So my recommendations are that social skills should be taught explicitly to all students, K through 12, preschool through 12, for at least 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week. More is better. Social skills instruction shouldn't just be taught during that first month of school. It should last the whole school year. It should be a separate time in the schedule where this social skills is happening, along with all those incidental instances throughout the school day. In addition, schools should evaluate a lot of different social emotional learning programs to find what fits their school and what fits their students. All staff should be trained on the intervention so that classroom teachers can deliver the instruction and not just specialists like me. And there should also be a school to home connection. This connection will help support students at school, parents at home, and help make it so that these skills last students a lifetime. Thank you very much.